Everyone knows Desi Arnaz as Ricky Ricardo, the husband of Lucille Ball's Lucy on the classic sitcom I Love Lucy. Many may even know the two were married for 2 decades before and during the show's successful run. But there are many other aspects of Desi's life that fans remain less aware of, such as the relationship he was in before he met Lucille that nearly got him killed. There's also the tragic story of how his family was forced out of Cuba when he was still young, requiring him to pick himself up by his bootstraps and find an innovative way to support himself and his family after they sought refuge in Miami, Florida. Join Facts First as we explore utterly tragic details about Desi Arnaz. When Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball met, Lucille was 28 years old and Desi was 23. Desi was already a successful band leader and had begun dabbling in acting. Meanwhile, Lucille Ball was an established actress in B Pictures, though her contractual relationship with RKO Pictures soon came to an end. Both Desi and Lucille were already in relationships at the time, and Lucille was engaged. Desi's partner was a woman that he only ever referred to as Freckles. Though they were in a serious relationship, she was technically still married to her previous husband. Despite their previous engagements, Desi and Lucille ended up falling deeply in love fairly fast. Desi apparently left Freckles stranded on the beach the night he met Lucille to spend the night with the actress. Similarly, Lucille called up her fiancé the next morning and told him the engagement was off. Although Desi and Lucille were passionately in love and arguably remained so throughout their lives, they could never quite make their relationship work out the way they wanted. Lucille Ball certainly wasn't the only person Desi slept with behind Freckles' back. Other notable figures he engaged in affairs with during his relationship with Freckles were Betty Grable and Ginger Rogers. In fact, Desi was reported to have paid to have Ginger shipped out of the country for a risky late-stage abortion just weeks before he and Lucille tied the knot. All things considered, there seems to have been a lot of messy business going on in Desi's personal life when he first hooked up with Lucille, and Lucille wasn't much different. Lucille came into her and Desi's relationship already romantically involved with Henry Fonda. She reignited her relationship with Henry various times after marrying Desi, both to make her husband jealous and because she wanted to. Regardless of setbacks in their personal lives, Desi and Lucille found themselves madly in love and soon spontaneously eloped. Apparently, the decision occurred after a full night of ravenous lovemaking, with Desi proclaiming to Lucille they were going to get married as soon as possible. They got in the car and drove to the courthouse, tying the knot unceremoniously without a single familial attendee. Reportedly, Desi and Lucille met up with the president of RKO Pictures later that day, and Desi's fly was still undone. Desi and Lucille were married for 2 decades and remained madly in love for the rest of their lives, but problems started up immediately after their wedding. Allegedly, Desi went to see a prostitute the week after their ceremony. While Desi always felt he was respecting of Lucille in his own personal way, he also felt it was okay to cheat. According to Desi, having women on the side was okay so long as he didn't respect them. The numerous infidelities Desi committed throughout his marriage to Lucille were mostly with hired women, and Desi felt what he was doing with them didn't infringe on the sanctity of his domestic relationship with Lucille Ball. But Lucille felt differently. The two tried to reconcile their differences for 2 decades before Lucille eventually decided there was no way she'd be able to make it work. She divorced from Desi in 1960, and the two tried to remain amicable business partners for a few years before Desi decided it was too painful and quit. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to Facts First for more. And stick around for more about Desi and Lucille. Although Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball had a lot of trouble throughout their marriage, the thing that managed to keep them together for 2 decades was sex. The two decided to elope after a night of wild lovemaking and fell back into the habit whenever the idea of divorce arose. One such occurrence came in 1944 when Lucille became fed up with her husband's rampant cheating and served him divorce papers. Desi understood intuitively the gesture was a bluff, and his solution was to pick his wife up and throw her into the bed. After another night of lovemaking, Lucille decided to throw the papers in the trash. Desi and Lucille were married for many years before starring in I Love Lucy. The series was based upon a radio show called My Favorite Husband, which Lucille had gotten into after being let go from her contract with RKO Pictures. The radio show became a success, and CBS subsequently offered Lucille the chance to turn the series into a television show. The network infamously refused Lucille's initial insistence that Desi be cast as her husband. Given that Desi was Cuban and Lucille was not, CBS felt the television audience wasn't ready for a mixed relationship. Lucille stuck her neck out for her husband, and the rest is history. I Love Lucy became a major success. Though Lucille was inarguably the centerpiece of the show, it's hard to imagine it being the success it was without Ricky Ricardo. Sadly, Desi was never quite the faithful husband his character was, though he certainly loved and respected his wife in his way. Lucille had hoped having Desi by her side every day at work might inspire the man to be more faithful. Sadly, the opposite seemed to happen, as Lucille exerted more leadership over the show's production than him, causing Desi to further escape into his trysts with prostitutes. Desi respected his wife, but he also feared her, and didn't always feel like the man he wanted to be when he was watching Lucille boss people around on set. When I Love Lucy became popular, Desi's infidelities stopped being just an issue for Lucille and started being a matter of public interest. Tabloids pried into the couple's relationship, and numerous pieces were printed during I Love Lucy's run suggesting Desi was cheating. After Desi and Lucille divorced in 1960, they both remarried and stayed with their respective spouses until death. Desi died before Lucille, and Lucille's phone call was said to be the last one the actor took before passing away. They remained great friends, both for personal reasons and for the sake of their 2 children. Although Lucille was arguably the greatest love of Desi's life, she wasn't the first. He was with the previously mentioned Freckles, and he had indulged in a similar pattern of infidelities during his relationship with her. Desi recalled before his death there was one moment during his relationship with Freckles where the star found himself confronted by her husband. During this confrontation, the husband allegedly tried to kill him. First, he tried to start an even fight with Desi. Desi evidently physically overpowered the man fast, leading to him surrendering for the time being. But Desi became suspicious later when the man kept trying to lure him over to an open window. Feeling that something wasn't quite right, Desi called him out on the murder attempt and told him to close the window before the 2 of them froze. Following this, Desi claimed the man had made him a nice breakfast. After the incident, everything was apparently settled between Desi and Freckles' husband. It remains uncertain if Freckles ever returned to her husband after Desi abandoned her at the beach. Now it's time to hear from you. Did you know Desi Arnaz allegedly shipped Ginger Rogers out of the country to have a risky late-stage abortion? Let us know in the comment section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.